What's the term?
Looks like a shirt or looks like a bag.
Almost a little bit of stuff.
I call the Oglesby City Council meeting to order.
Augubright.
Here.
Cullen. Curran.
Here.
Mieski. Here. Rivara.
Aye. And before we proceed, I'm going to ask everybody to please speak loudly into the mic. And before we go on, I'm going to address something that I don't know how many people here are, because of the bills. We've seen a number of complaints. And to give you an example, and I went back and just kind of give you an idea where we're at for our electric bill. On May 8th, the city wrote a check to the IMEA. Our total electric bill for the city was $225,162.74. July 10th, we wrote a check to the IMA for $364,395.74. This basically has been like a perfect storm. Oglesby electric rates today is 11.53 cents per kilowatt. The average price of a kilowatt electricity in the state of Illinois is 14.0 cents. And that price doesn't include taxes and franchise fees. Why did we have so many, why were the bills so high? Weather, high demand, increased load, reduced generation. You know, if you remember last fall, we closed in Illinois 32% of our fossil plants. That means we have less generation available, and these generating companies do not have to come online until they meet their price. Basically, the numbers in that difference in bills in them months were $139,233. I don't care if you get your electricity from Ameren, ComEd, cities of Peru, Ladd, Princeton, your electric bills are going to be similar. Everybody got hit. I've got a this is my actually, electric bill. In April, it was the electric alone. I had 513 kilowatts I used, was $69. In July, we used 1,687 kilowatts. The electric bill was $205.77. That's because of the having to go on the open market and buy. Got another electric bill here that comes, it's a family of 5. In April, their electric bill was $110.64. They used 878 kilowatts. In July, their electric bill was $286. They used 2,383 kilowatts. It's a perfect storm. And unfortunately, we all get caught in it. I'll move on to I need a motion and second to approve the minutes from the July 20th, 2020 regular meeting.
I'd like to state a correction. The minutes are actually correct. However, I misspoke last time about the employees for the ambulance service, that if they were working over 1,000, I stated that they were not going to fall under IMRF, but indeed they are. So when I realized that the next morning, I sent information out to this council to let them know that I had made a mistake, but I wanted to set the record straight for the next minutes. So I make a motion to approve these current minutes.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Next on the item is approved bills as presented for payment.
Public comment on agenda items only.
Pardon?
Public comment on agenda items only first.
Oh, I missed it, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Public items on agenda items only. Having none, will move. Need to approve bills as presented for payment.
I'll make a motion to approve bills as presented for payment.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Next on the agenda is place on file 1123-081720, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the city of Oglesby and the Fraternal Order of Police.
What this currently reflects is the opportunity for this department to go to 12-hour shifts instead of the 10 that they're working right now, and to be able to bring on some part-time police officers. Now, the move to the 12-hour shifts actually provides for a better coverage for the department, which turn around to you means a safer town if you have better coverage. It also allows the officers to have a little bit more, a better work-life balance. They can actually get a weekend off, a Saturday, Sunday run together. Currently, under the 10-hour shifts, it may be 4, 5, 6 weeks before they get a Saturday and Sunday off at one time. So we're excited about the move to the 12-hour shifts and the part-time officers, not to take the place of any current officer, not to disrupt that flow at all. But, that is why I'd like to make the motion to place on file 1123-081720, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a memorandum of agreement between the city of Oglesby and the Fraternal Order of Police.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan.
Aye.
Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the agenda is introduction of Oglesby newest police officer, Shelby, is it Malino, and the oath of office.
Shelby? You're gonna have to come up here by the podium so they can hear it. I'm gonna raise my hand and repeat after me. I, Shelby Polino. I, Shelby Polino. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution. Of the United States. And the Constitution. Of the State of Illinois. Enforce the state laws. And city ordinances impartially. And that I will faithfully discharge the duties. Of the City of Oglesby Police Department. To the best of my ability. Welcome aboard.
Next on the agenda is approved re-rating of the bonds for Bernardi Security.
So I'm under the impression that what all we're really doing is getting a different rate. We're allowed to change every so many years our rate on our bonds, and so it'll be over a percent lower when we re-rate our bonds.
Basically, what are, you're right, you're the financial guy. Right now, we're paying about 3.5%. If we can reduce that down to 1.5% or somewhere in that area, it's estimated we'll be saving about $41,000 in change a year. So anytime we can, it's one of those things we save money.
How much longer do we have left to pay on them?
What, it's 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, I'm sure.
One goes to 2009, 2009, so we're looking at least 9 years.
2020. Does that affect, so does this in any way affect us for getting bonds in the future?
We currently have these bonds on our books, so it's the rate really.
Does it change like our credit rating in some way to be able to get other bonds for better rates or anything like that at all?
We aren't big enough to really rate our bonds,
Okay.
so it's not really gonna affect us. With we pay rate ourselves, just the bond, pretty expensive.
So really the biggest change is that it's just more of a cost savings?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve re-rating the bond from Bernardi Securities.
I'll second that.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Discuss hazardous and mitigation plan.
This is placed right here because it needs to be, get approved by the council, what our weaknesses or risks for this area are and what we are going to do should these events take place. It's a pretty basic hazardous vulnerability analysis. It includes what LaSalle County's response is compared to what Oglesby's response for risk well as everything else. For example, we had, last January, we had, sub-zero weather for days on end, and you had frozen pipes, you had heat that wasn't working, you had businesses that closed down, such as where I work, because you didn't want people coming out in that frigid cold to make their illnesses even worse. So that is one of the highest risks we have here, winter storms, and then further back, it tells what the mitigations would be for those types of things. Mitigation, like what we would do to act upon it. And I don't know if the rest of the council has had a chance to review it, but it talks about implementing a regional discussion with early warning sirens during storm events. It talks about replacing outdated sirens, identifying combined sewers in the city and separate storm sewer, topics there. Some engineering and construction. So basically, it's for the council to be able to read through, decide if they agree with those, the risk assessment and with the mitigations that are followed, and if not, add to that so we can place, as our annual review.
So we got this a few months ago and we looked at it. About half of it just talks like she's talking about the risk. And I'll be honest, I don't find a lot of value in that because it just talks about what we know is the risk. The real value is what the mitigation things would be. And they are very basic. About some of the only things that we do as a city for some of these, like for example, the heating and cooling center locations that I think it was the last administration that actually activated it and stuff like that. So those are some things here that actually have some value. I would recommend that we all take a look at it and we throw it to our working meeting that we're gonna do next week to see if there's any specifics we'd like to change with mitigation strategies or anything, and then just adopt it. Apparently, I guess I'm told it's something we have to adopt.
I think you need it for grants. I think some grants, not all of them, will require you, they'll want a copy of your mitigation.
So since we have a hazard communications plan already, can we just adopt that into it as a exhibit or a appendix, or do we have to make it its own separate thing?
I just probably make it its own separate thing, that way if you're ever asked, you just send them a copy.
Okay. But either way, I'd recommend, going over it and approving it at the working meeting, if that's the case. You want to can we do that if it says discuss?
Can you place it on file?
We probably, I don't think,
Let's do it.
yeah, I think once you place it on file at your working meeting, and then you can adopt it the following meeting on today's the 3rd, on the 17th will be your regular meeting.
I don't think we're applying for any grants in the next 2 weeks,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that should be okay.
Now, the only thing that would change is if you move that working meeting later in the week from Monday, then we wouldn't be able to place it on file and adopt it at the 17th. Because it has to be on file for 7 days.
Well, I think it's the next item we're gonna talk about here a bit too, so.
Next item on the agenda is set date for the working meeting and discussion items.
So Monday, obviously, would be best then, next week.
So that was what the plan was, but now I'm looking at some of the items here, and that's the only day next week that our city attorney is not available. And some of these items that I think we need to have on there might be valuable for him to be here. So I don't know if we want to go with a different date or what you think, but we can go over the items first if you want to.
We need 48 hours. So Thursday work?
Of this week?
Tuesday.
Well, Tuesday, we're out of
Thursday,
time.
I
Yeah.
do have a meeting in Spring Valley.
Ah,
I'm good
man.
any night,
Mr. Popular over here.
good any night other than Monday next week.
Next Tuesday, then we can't.
So here's the thing,
Yeah.
So here's the things that I'd like to throw on there, a couple things. One of them is road space. 3 things in this category. Signs, there's a couple signs that have been made aware that have gone up in Oglesby over the years, that no ordinance is attached to them. And then as I looked at the ordinances, there's a few ordinances that are wrong or have poor wording that need to be fixed. And then the other thing that's come up, some residents have talked to me about it, and I've had a conversation with the mayor. Some of the streets are so narrow that we might want to talk about putting an ordinance of where you can't park on one side or the other to allow for traffic flow. Now, that's the only one that has a negative impact to some residents perhaps. And we have not had a meeting yet between Carrie, myself, the chief of police, and my street superintendent. We want to see if we can get that this week to come up with what streets and which things like that we might want to modify, and then talk about that at the working meeting. Because if we think that's a good idea, obviously there could be some residents that want to talk about that. So that's why
Are
I'd
you
like.
gonna let the residents on those streets know about this ahead of time, or?
Well, we haven't even discussed what streets they should be
Okay, well, I
at.
suggest we let everyone that lives on said road, give them like a little letter or something at least.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the whole point. I think the idea was to identify which streets would be good
Okay.
candidates for it, discuss it here, and then make sure people are aware of that before we do any kind of adoption for ordinance. But that's just one topic for the working meeting. The other ones would be, we've talked a long time about donations to organizations that we do as a city. I think it'd be a good way to get that all lined up. I'm sure there's gonna be some legal questions with that. The hazard mitigation plan, a social media policy. There's been some things that's creeped up the last couple of weeks. That's been some issues. And I'm sure there's gonna be some legal stuff with that. And then I think we wanted to talk about vehicle maintenance, retirement, replacement plan. So there's a whole bunch of things, about 3 or 4 of them, though, I think the lawyer would be a good thing to be around for.
Like I said, I can have some of them, I can have Rico or Gary cover it, I personally can't be here on Monday.
All right, Monday?
I'll make sure you know what's going on.
Okay, so you're profitable on these subjects, I guess, then?
Yeah.
All right, Monday sounds good then.
Send them the itinerary.
Okay.
Do we can just schedule
Yeah,
next Monday, at 6:30, I've got. So the date for the working meeting is August 10th, 6:30 PM. Is there anything under old business?
There was a question that came up, last meeting about, the canoe landing. I talked to Cully about it briefly, and we spoke with the engineer. Granted, this was just a very off-the-cuff conversation. And about, if we put the cement things in there to try to block the mud from coming up, the thought process is that I could actually create an eddy, which would create more around there. So I wanted to verify just to make sure how it gets cleaned up. And it is kind of how I thought it is. So every day, the streets department guys, they look at it. So the parks, they'll look at it if it's kind of minor, they clean it up. If there's a heavy amount of mud after rainfall and things like that, and the water recedes, the street department will go down there and they'll scrape it with the skid steer and get everything out of there. Now, that gets done relatively often throughout the work week and stuff like that. And I'll admit, if we have a big rainfall over the weekend, it's probably not gonna get touched again until Monday. But in all fairness, what I've been told is, this is one of the nicest canoe landings that exists. A lot of canoe landings are just gravel and rock. So, yeah, there'll be mud in there, it is going to a river though, but it's kind of unfortunate. I really don't wanna activate overtime hours for people to be cleaning off mud off a canoe landing. So for the meantime, I think it works out pretty well that 5 days a week it gets cleaned up.
Public comments? Having none. Commissioner reports.
I have nothing to report tonight.
From the ambulance services, they saw 79 calls last month, with 24 of them being transfers. The fire department, however, has doubled just about their normal volume. They were called out on 28 calls, 3 of them being water rescue, so they're really getting their work in out there. The police department, I wish I had those numbers in front of me. I think Chief Hayes did send them to me, but sitting on my printer at home. I can tell you though that for the Police Officer of the Month, Sergeant Michael Padilla has earned that honor, so congratulations to Sergeant Padilla and all his hard work. I really appreciate that. At our last meeting, we had a question about, George Cullinan actually brought it up. He had a question about the number of officers that we have in the department and about a rating like per 1,000 people, how many officers should you have? And we have approximately 3,700 people. What I've found, what Chief Hayes has found, is that the International Association of Chief of Police says that ratios, such as officers per 1,000 population, are totally inappropriate as a basis for staffing decisions. Why? Because times have changed. It's not like it used to be. We have several mitigating factors for Oglesby, considering the proximity to Star Rock and to Matheson Park. Other factors that all these businesses that we have in our area that sell alcohol, we have 9 bars, 3 clubs, Beck's, Love's Truck Stop, and at least 2 restaurants that serve alcohol. We have 3 Section 8 housing complexes, 2 trailer courts, the canoe landing. We have the junior college here, and we also have a senior living complex. So all of these things should be brought into play when you're considering how many officers you should have for our community. There were some articles that range from 1997 to 2017, so they're a little bit older, that did still talk about statistics. Some of them were as high as 3.43 officers per 1,000. Some were lower as 1.8 per 1,000. So any of those that says that you would have anywhere between 6.5 to 12.5 officers on duty. The one thing that I looked at is, of course, we had a goodly amount. However, one of our officers works totally in Trident, so that's not on our street, and so you'd have to take him out of the mixture. We have the chief. In any of these articles, the chief is never considered part of the workforce, because most chiefs are anywhere from 75% to almost 100% administrative. So that being said, I am down to 7 officers that's including our newest officer, Shelby. I'm down to a total of 7. And when they're saying we should be having 6.5 to 12.5, I feel comfortable with that.
Thank you, Carrie. Just a second, Jason. Apparently, we have Drew Merriman has called in, and
Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, my comment is for Jason Kern. The mayor said that the rates per kilowatt is 11 cents per kilowatt. So my question to you is, you're raising everything else. Are you going to be in a big hurry to raise our electric rates too? Because if you're trying to get people to move to Oglesby, having the highest rates for a town this small isn't going to be very encouraging. And when my parents bought my grandparents' house and redid it in 1973 or 74, we were the second lowest tax rate. Now we're the second highest. So I mean, you're not making it very nice for anybody to move here. I mean, with these rates, it seems like every time you find out something, you want to rush to the meeting and raise it up. Give it a break. Years ago during the summertime, we were not charged for sewer because a lot of people have gardens, a lot of people have flowers and stuff. So they gave us a break. And with this current group that's in, I don't see that ever happening again. But it sure would be nice, because there's a lot of people that grow their own food and take pride in their flower gardens and stuff. And to give us a break on the sewer for the summer would be nice, because this is getting pretty expensive to live here in this little town.
Okay, so I heard a lot of comments there, but the only question I actually heard, So the only question I heard there was a comment about if we're looking to raise electric rates. So the only answer I can give you on that, and I've addressed this in the past, so we have an electric rate study going on right now. We actually had a meeting with them about a week ago just to see how that's coming along. It's still dependent upon our audit, although I will tell you though, it is looking very good. So at this time, I have no input or inkling of anything like that we'd be raising electric rates. I'm hoping, again, I am hoping that the results are gonna be so positive that we can do something that's quite the opposite. I'm not guaranteeing anything like that, but to answer your question, I have no desire or no knowledge that we'd be raising the electric rates. And you said, I think you said 11.5, what the mayor actually said was it's 11.53 cents per kilowatt hour. There's a lot of comments and a lot of the other things there. I didn't hear a question though. Was there another question I missed in that group though?
So if the study comes back that we need to raise rates, you're gonna think about raising our power rates too? I thought this was more of, hopefully we can lower them, but if it comes back that says we have to raise them, you're gonna say we need to raise them?
I didn't say that either. I said it's gonna be worth the discussion, obviously. I mean, I'm gonna be very,
Hopefully we discuss it at least this time, yeah.
you don't think we discussed the last one? When we discussed it for
I
over
think
a
we have
year.
a little bit of, citizen feedback now, so
Okay,
looking at raising electrical rates, I probably
again, I didn't
wouldn't
say that.
suggest that, so.
Okay, well, that's not what I said, so, that's not on the agenda. That's not what I have planned, and that's not the feedback that I'm getting. But I'm hoping it's gonna be positive, and it's looking that way, but I won't know until we get the actual report. Was there another question in that group that I missed, though? Okay, reports, okay, so where are we at here? So Putnam County Painting is behind due to weather. They're having some problems with that. They're looking at the end of the month now. Still, when that happens for the repainting the water tower, there still should be no impact to residents. We have a bit of a concern with well pump number 4. So I'll tell you the scary news first and then the good news. The scary news was there would be times where the pump would just would shut down. And if we had to get any maintenance on the pump, these wells are so deep, it'd be $35,000 just to pull the pump, just to pull it up out of the well. And that's not including the maintenance on it. Well, the good news is we did find out that there is what they call a soft start mechanism because these pieces of equipment are so expensive. The soft start mechanism is what was failing from about 20 years ago. So we did have to spend about $9,000, which again, that's pricey, but $9,000 to fix the pump is significantly better than $35,000 just to take a look at it. And as you can see, we don't have our new video system up yet. There is a delay in the back order for the video camera, so the moment they get that in, they'll let us know, and we will schedule to get that installed. And that is all I have.
I have nothing to report at this time.
I have another public comment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I guess my question is, also along with the citizens with the electric rates and the water and the sewer, when we talk about the perfect storm that everybody's getting hit hard, I understand the area people are also getting hit with higher electric bills this summer. But what's different about Oglesby is that this $100 water and sewer. Like other towns do not have this. You know, we pay water, sewer, garbage in a small town in Winona, and it's $50. You know, LaSalle doesn't have this. So what's making our bill so much set apart from these other towns around us? And in fact, I spoke to someone who was looking at a house in Oglesby, and they're not. Because that's our bill. I mean, we have $500, $600, $700. People are even up to $800. That's a mortgage payment. So I guess my question is, how long is our water and sewer rate going to be this $200? Because that's killing us with on top of the high electric rate.
Can we back up a second? I'm not sure I don't know if she can hear me because that's go through the delay or anything. I'm not sure what she's referring to about these $200 water bills or how we're so much different, but the data I have from even a year ago, we're either right at or even under some of these other municipalities. I don't know anything about Monona. That's not one of the 6 I have data points here for. I'm not sure what you're referring to with the $200 water bills. I mean, the water bills did go up, because we did increase the rates, but again, we are still matter of fact, we're still only charging the exact bare minimum to qualify for certain grants across the state of Illinois. So I'm not sure what you're referring to by these massive $200 water bills that are house payments.
So how long?
Well, our bill was $100 for sewer and $100 for water.
And that's a 10-year plan, right, Jason, is what you just, or
The-
the council passed?
What we passed
I think it was
was,
5% every year on top of this?
correct, and it expires, that rate increase expires at 10 years. The reason for that was because in the next 4, hopefully we are gonna have a plan put together for what we need to do for the wastewater treatment plant. Hopefully we can get some grants that will allow for that, because we don't even know the size we need, but the concern was, what was gonna happen if we had to get a $15 or $20 million wastewater treatment plant and had absolutely no savings for it, or a means to be able to pay for it via bond.
Okay, so you are acknowledging that, I mean, our bill, we pay $100 for sewer and $100 for water, so I feel like you're not saying that.
I'm not acknowledging that, because I don't know what you're talking about. I'd have to look some data points, I don't know if that's the average, I don't believe that's the average of what Oglesby residents are paying. That seems very high to me, but I don't know what each person's individual case is. That's not average?
That's what our last bill, we paid $100 for sewer, we paid $100 for water, and then our electric was about $320 something, which brought our bill to over $500. So that is what I'm talking about, when these residents are getting into these $700 or $800. Yes, our electric is going to go up in the summer, that is a given, you know, with the air conditioning and things like that, but
So what I-
on top of,
So what I can tell you, that seems like a really high water usage compared to your electrical. I mean, it seems like you're about 4 times more than what I have, but I actually have more electrical than that, because I like it nice and cool in my house, but anyways, when you have a water rate that's high, I'd be curious to know if that changed, or if that's just because of the rates that went up. I know that the city people get a call a lot of times when people have these ridiculous water bills, because they'll find out that they have like a toilet that's been running for like a month in the basement somewhere that no one
it
gets.
was just this month and last month, and we didn't say anything last month because we thought, oh, maybe it was just the pool or something, but no, it's this month too.
Well, when you,
I know in the well, because I know I talked to many people today, actually, on Facebook, and, people are getting $744 for their bill. I even saw someone that had an $800 bill.
well,
So, I mean,
your water rate
my
seems,
bill,
your water rate seems pretty
actually,
high, but you mentioned something about a pool. So when you talk about sewer costs, did you take advantage of the fact that we talked about that you can call in when you fill your pool to get that sewer part discounted?
yes, we are aware of that.
Ma'am,
So, what I'm trying to let you
You say
know
our
is
sewer bill's
that
$100.
it's not just me, I mean, if you start taking a poll of your residents and listening, they're extremely high payments. I know, someone that is barely at her home, her bill was $642 this month. She, was barely home this month, and,
ma'am, could I ask you to call the clerk's office in the morning to get your name, so we can, run what you are paying and come up with some answers? Because the bills that we ran today are nowhere near that high.
Okay.
And there's an answer, so I'd like to know the answer.
As I said, people call in a lot of times to find out what's going on with their, now, if it's just because you have the same amount of usage and the rate went up, I'm not sure why you have that much usage, but let's see if we can identify to make sure there's not a leak somewhere.
so
Well,
would you
it-
encourage all citizens to do that then? Because I know I've talked to probably at least 10 people that have bills over what my bill is this month.
So if you're saying there's a spike in your usage, absolutely. If your usage stayed the same and your rate went up just because we increased the rate, well, I think you have your answer
That
then.
can't be the answer. You know, if there's it could be any number of problems. If we've got an error somehow way in the system and it went that high, we wanna correct it. I wanna know why your bill is that high, because
Okay.
It doesn't,
Okay.
doesn't add up.
So
okay?
there is one other thing, I didn't want to talk, there was one other thing I could report, I wasn't gonna report because I didn't think it was valuable enough, but I can talk about that, because it does relate a little bit. So right now, the electric department is installing what we call new Nighthawk meters around town. Now you're probably like, why does that matter to me? These new Nighthawk meters expand how they can collect information from electric meters and water rate meters, because there are some water rate meters in town that are so old or so poor that they'd have to gone off of estimated amounts, or we have to go and bring mechanical reads. So what if all of a sudden your water meter does have a problem? I mean, this is something that you can call City Hall about, and we can identify that. If that is the case, we can take a look at that. We either have to estimate, or maybe you have a broken water meter right now. I don't know.
Okay, well, I will call and then I'll encourage others to do that as well, because I know I'm not alone, so that's why I called today, because I've been talking to many people that are just floored by these bills, and I mean, some of them are 2 car payments and close to mortgage payments, so that's tough for families.
Ma'am, anything that we ran today, and because of a high bill complaint, is basically because the usage is up. But give us a call, let us try to get some answers. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Where are we at on the wastewater treatment plant? Because we doubled rates for that, and I'd love an update, because I haven't heard.
That was
since
one
we
of the
doubled
reasons,
rates.
that was one of the reasons. I'll get you an update on that.
Okay, so we're nowhere, all right.
Go ahead.
I have no.
Okay. I've got a couple things. One, I just want to remind everyone that in order to enter City Hall, you must be wearing a mask. Maybe some good things. GTI started phase 2 to be completed of March 2021. After stage 3 is completed and they are up and running, we're looking at adding 164 jobs in Oglesby. The city has requested a second delivery point at the Malik Cell. This is due to the increased load and reliability issues. Twice last month, we lost power with Ameren. If we had a second delivery point, we could backfeed either from Malik Sub to Phoenix or Phoenix to Malik. It's will improve our reliability and a positive thing for the city. There's been some talk about raising city rates, electric rates. That isn't in the cards at this time. And I think people need to understand something. When we shut down 32% of our fossil generation, basically what you've done is shrink the amount of capacity. You're forced to buy it off the grid. That's part of the reason why people's bills went up. Right now, we, in Illinois, we've got 8% renewables. The goal is by 2030 to have 30%. I think that's somebody's dream. We need reliable, efficient, and affordable energy. That's all I have. Well, now we'll go to the next thing on the agenda. Closed session. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee or legal counsel for the public body. Also, collective negotiation matters between the public body and its employees or their representative, or deliberation concerning salary schedule for one or more classes of employees, IL CSI 20/2, parentheses C, parentheses L.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski. Rivera.
Aye.
Fun. So a question I'll have to ask you in the next 2 weeks then is, where we at on our wastewater? Okay. So you know. Yeah, I mean, the bigger problem can be just. That's the bigger question. Well, the issue I found at the station I want to go and look, so I didn't want to say that until I could figure out if it was exactly that. But no, so, well, then up the question about that, I wasn't worried about that. I think that's bigger, because if you put a lagoon with it, valley, then you got plenty of expansion. Sounds good. All right.
Probably
I got you. You got no comment?
You have to lower your all, girl.
I will. Good seeing ya. Are you coming to the next one?
Probably.
going on?
You seem a little unlike yourself.
Oh, that's all.
You're a little what?
Dumpy in here.
Good thing.
I watch Netflix in the office.
What's that?
I watch Netflix in the office.
What do you watch on Netflix?
Shameless.
Good show. When the next meeting start?
It's on Netflix now. It was like last
No, the
Monday.
current season is right now?
Season 10.
Season 10.
Shameless?
Shameless.
Good show.
So that's why I'm saying.
I can, most of that. I used to, every year, or every 2 years, they jack the cable way up, and I'd call and I'd say, well, I wanna get rid of.
Cleared them all out, didn't you, Aaron?
Yeah, I did. I watch Netflix.
We can make you a deal we can give you a special price for 2 years. So I did that for about, 3 times. And then, when my cable bill, went up by like $130 or something in a month, I called and I tried the same song and dance, and I said, well, I don't really watch Showtime or HBO or Cinemax all that much. You can just take those off if you can't give me a better deal. And I was expecting them to say, oh, this is the better deal. I got a surprise. They said, okay, this is your new bill. Wow.
Yeah, cable bill pisses me off more than electric bill, I'll tell you that. I don't use half the day thing on the cable. Ridiculous, I thought it is.
Well, I've got my home email with Comcast, it's about $175 a month.
Yes, it's crazy.
I don't have Comcast. I don't have internet.
You have internet?
I have a phone, with unlimited
How do you
data.
survive without internet?
I have a phone with unlimited data.
So, his phone's is in there.
Need
It's my
a
Netflix.
motion and second to go back into session.
I'll make a motion to go back into open session.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski. Rivera.
Aye. I need a motion and second for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.